Welcome back to the JTF Show podcast. I'm your host, Jason Silton. To do Worship Wars. This is part one, and I'm most likely going to skip a lot because this is like 55 minutes. And it's from Jan Markell. Spell it out JANMARKELL. At the end of the day, if you disagree, you disagree. Maybe debate with them or something like that. But, don't go after them or dox them or anything like that, obviously. Let's just get into the worship wars.
Welcome to the program. I am so glad you're able to join me today. We're beginning an interesting couple weeks series here on the worship wars, music in the church, and there's no greater divide in the church today than the style of music being played. And the divide is usually age-driven. One generation wants one style, and another generation wants a different kind of music.
That is pretty much true. One generation likes the old hymns and wants that, while the other generation likes quote unquote like secular Christian music. First of all, it's the same as Christian music. I mean, will it be mistaken as secular music? Here's my opinion on this whole worship wars thing. For me, every song doesn't have to say Jesus or God to know that it's Jesus or God. If you're trying to reach the secular world and bring people to Christianity, sometimes you have to essentially bait them and or do things that might seem secular, but at the end of the day, you're just using it for God's glory. We can do that. We did that with holidays, we can do it with music. I like Toby Mac, Lauren Daigle, but I also like the old hymns. Especially the remakes of the meaning of that. That's what I really like about some of those artists today, is that they sort of sometimes reform some hymns to really get an influence, because every generation has their own taste of music, especially Christian music. So, I guess that's how I stand with things like that. Let's continue.
Perhaps more subdued, maybe a return to hymns sung years ago. Equally controversial is the character and reputation of groups producing today's music. So while some would disagree, two large empires produce a great deal of today's Christian music. One would be Jesus Culture. They headquarter out of Bethel Church, Redding, California, and Hillsong, which originates out of Australia. These folks have branches around the world, and in some cases, the theology expressed in some of the music sung in churches today is not the best. One song sings about God's reckless love.
Oh no, hold up. What I mean by reckless, yes, I do have to agree. Reckless does mean like wild or uncontrolled. But when they mean by reckless love, if you have to listen to the whole lyrics. There's no mountain you will climb up, mountain you'll I think break up coming after me. There's no door you will kick down. I think lie you won't tear down coming after me. As in, God's love for some things in the definition of reckless would be reckless. He pretty much will go out of his way for one person. If one person is saved, all of heaven rejoices. If you can just get one person, that's enough. There's no door he will kick down, lie he won't tear down coming after me. If I got those lyrics right. That's what you had to understand. Again, I I do agree they sort of said like unchanging or past understanding love of God, but I understood what they were saying by reckless love of God. They're not saying that God's love is just wild and he'll accept everything because he loves us. No. He's saying that no door, there's no door in reality in a sense of a way that God will not tear down coming after you. That's the reckless love that they're talking about if you read all of the lyrics. it's very important to read all of the lyrics before criticizing something like reckless love.
Want to say more about that, but the YouTube version of that song has almost 85 million listeners right now. It may not be sound theology, but no one seems to mind. Is God's
It's not it's not like a different theologies. It's saying the same thing that you would say, that God's love is, it passes all understanding. That's what they were trying to say. They were saying that God's love will do anything to get you back to Him. Of course, in the right way, not necessarily anything. But again, there's no door He won't kick down. I think a lot He won't tear down coming after me. You really had to listen to the lyrics before criticizing something. And this is one of the problems with some of the old generation. They only nitpick one part of things, and they make a whole fit. Same thing with this generation. We're not as I'm not saying this generation is better. I'm just saying that we both have mistakes at the end of the day.
love really reckless? Well, Hillsong is called an international empire, but is it sound?
Hillsong has produced more than 40 albums, which have sold over 11 million copies worldwide. But the soundness of the theology of many of these songs is suspect.
What's wrong with those lyrics? Okay? That's true. I mean, I don't get the problem.
These lyrics have nothing distinctively Christian to them. In fact,
How?
they can easily be mistaken for a high school love letter.
High school love letter. Oh my gosh, I'm in the deep end. Oh my gosh. What? No. I mean, maybe, but no. What? How's that a love song? That's worship. That's worship. What? How is this a love song? Please explain. Does anybody think that this is a love song? Well, of course, nobody's here except me, but I'm proving a point that I don't think anybody would think, this sounds like a love song. No, it sounds like worship. That's worship. That's worship. What?
The lyrics of this song are less ambiguous, but contain serious doctrinal error. Nowhere do the scriptures teach that an unsatisfying solitude in heaven was the reason for the incarnation.
What? Oh no. When there is. Okay, I'll break it down for you if I have to. What was it? You don't something without us, so Jesus, you brought heaven down. Pretty much, he doesn't want to leave us. He doesn't want to forsake us. So that's why he brought heaven down in a sense of a way, as his glory. That's what that's saying. I don't. What?
In fact, redemption is first and foremost for the glorification of the triune God.
So, because of these controversies, I began getting emails some time ago. Just read one quickly here. Lisa writes, the songs being played on Christian radio that are from Hillsong, Jesus Culture, and other artists who are New Apostolic Reformation, Emergent, other things are prevalent in the churches, even where you don't necessarily hear false doctrine being.
I mean, you don't. I mean, sometimes they might get some things wrong. Maybe. I do agree that some of these people need to really read the word instead of just doing worship, which some do, and a lot of people have prophesied and prayed tongues and got saved through these type of music. So that's a biggie. Hymns do the same thing, and these save people. Maybe not necessarily the people, but the music. The Holy Spirit can use what He uses to turn for good. If they're saying something wrong, most spirit-filled churches wouldn't do them. But some people who are, no offense, old generation hymns might not like it. But there is something that I do agree with. I think they might say it, but I'm just going to sort of say it. About the loudness of the music, I do agree that a lot of the music is a little bit too loud. Like, sometimes you have elderly, and the hymns that they had were, minimum, or, balance. So I do think that the music needs to be turned down a little bit, but not like shut down. Just not so loud like it's a concert, which I do agree, but that's why you have something called Christian concerts and worship concerts. But moving on.
Preach from the pulpit. It's entering in through the music, and the people seem to be clueless. Lisa says the older people don't necessarily like some of it, but they are seeing the young people get excited about the Lord, except it's a different Jesus. So my husband and I...
How's it a different Jesus? Please explain, please. Maybe it's a different format of Jesus. Maybe it's a different personality of Jesus. Jesus has different personalities. See, everybody is different. Jesus walks with people differently. So, yeah.
and I are quite distraught by this trend, and it seems that the Christian music industry has been hijacked. We would very much like more...
Hijacked. Okay, don't dox any of these people or go after them, obviously, but no, like, just don't. Like, that's not right. Debate them, have a conversation with them, have a logical conversation with these people. But how is it hijacked? Like, I don't...
More information on this. There isn't much safe Christian music out there anymore. So that has set the stage for the programming here. I am joined for the balance of the programming by a pastor who is outspoken about using proper music in the church. Brandon Holthouse pastors Rock Harbor Church in Bakersfield, California. Eric Barger also joins me. He has a background in music as a musician, as a record producer, and more. That would be years ago. And gentlemen, thank you both for joining me for the program.
Don't dox any of these people, guys.
Brandon, you as
So
a
if you don't
pastor,
dox
you
any
said
of these
something
people.
interesting to me the other day, and you screen all the songs from your...
And the reason why I'm saying that is because they might say some old-fashioned things that we young people might not want to hear. But a good person listens to an older and younger person if they have wisdom inside of them by God, or just wisdom in general. Because I know this is a pretty hot topic. Generational wars and culture wars. I mean, some of that stuff is still going on. So as you know, this is pretty controversial.
Your worship leader, but you produced 7 major issues with Christian music these days. I'm just going to hit each of the 7 bullet points, and I want us to discuss them for a minute. You cite the 7 issues as non-theological lyrics.
How is it non-theological lyrics?
Romantic lyrics to God.
There's no romantic. It's called having a relationship. I mean, some relationships might seem romantic, but no. Do I have to agree that some Christian music, back when I was a little bit young, had a little bit of a romantic side? Yes. But they weren't trying to be romantic. But still.
God. Number 3, anthropocentric lyrics.
I don't know what anthropocentric is. So, again, some of these stuff I actually do not know. So I'm just gonna give them the benefit of the doubt for now. People who know all this, make your own videos, do your own podcast. I don't want to start a movement here. I don't want to start a war as of now. But I'm just saying, if you have more information, maybe it's time to maybe show it. If you want to.
Instead of theocentric lyrics. 4, the artist or the group's personal lives or theological stance.
Some artists have their issues. Everybody does. But the best thing we should do is pray for them. But here's the thing. It's not the person. It's the music at the end of the day. Yes, the person is very important, especially if they're not doing something right. But if their music changes people's hearts for Christ, the Spirit can use it for good and help that person instead of just denouncing the whole music because the person is bad. That's just in this case. That's not how that works in a sensible way. It depends what they're going through. You just have to pray for
The
them.
lyrics might be fine, but the source, the artists, or the groups are either apostates promoting false doctrine or promoting false worship methods such as yoga, contemplative prayer, or they
Yoga, depending of how you use it, you can because it is part of exercise. You just have to look up the poses and see if they're okay or not. But that's just because maybe some of my stresses, when I do my workouts, might be yoga poses, but they haven't really harmed me in any way, as I've known, or so I known. I'm not promoting yoga. I'm just saying some poses in yoga are fine. It depends how you use it. Yoga is a part of an exercise workout, but it does have religious background, specifically Hindu background. So just to tell you guys that.
they come out as practicing homosexuals, such as Jennifer Knapp or Ray Boltz, or at least supporting the
Again, guys, this is going to be controversial, so just tell ya. Ooh, we went there. We went there. Yikes. Ooh, man.
LGBT movement. Number 5, you state ungodly performances. Here you cite, and I've seen this online, Hillsong's New York Women's Conference having the youth pastor impersonate the naked cowboy. This is horrific. I've seen it. Hillsong.
Now that I didn't know of. But it depends on where they were at that time. Am I gonna throw out all my Hillsong music? Not necessarily, but that is a good thing to know about. But that might have been their hard times because everybody goes through their struggles. Everybody has their own interviews, like, I wasn't always the perfect guy. And this is really great because back then you didn't have that type of communication of people today who, like, okay, we can work through this, we can help you. Back then you had to be very submissive and just shut up and die. That's a fact, guys. One celebrity said back then I didn't have social media or stuff like that to get help. If I'm correct, she was saying that she sort of wanted that. I think a lot of people back then wanted something like that to help them. But, again, this is controversial. I mean, but does this mean I get away? Does that mean I throw away all my Hillsong? No, because I've seen people saved by the music, not just by the music, but music really speaks to people. It's sort of like this. The music can be great, but the person who's doing the music might need some help. That's why you pray for them. Now this was let's see, this was in 2019, so pretty recent, but you just gotta look at interview after interview after interview and other things like that to see what's going on. You can't just assume that they're just staying that way. I think Hillsong is much better. If you guys really listen to their music, it's great. But you always, again, you do have to pray for the person because people in that type of celebrity like highness in a sense of a way can fall. And it's best to help them to remember who you're doing this for. You're not doing this for fans, you're doing this for God. You should.
Having a Christmas performance in which they portrayed Jesus being born in a bar, and they have taken that down from YouTube, but they did have this performance. Or the Wild Goose Festival, which was a 4-day extravaganza of music involving reconciliation yoga, progressive Christian mysticism, number 6.
Progressive Christian mysticism. What are you talking about? You mean Hinduism? I don't know what they're talking about here. I don't know. But yeah, I'm sure they did their research. Do your research as well, people. Please.
6. The use of long and loud music sessions, 45 minutes to an hour, to put the people in an altered state of consciousness knowingly or unknowingly. Music is used as a stimulus bombardment to the emotions and physiology of the person to bypass the intellect and create a mental state. Number 7, worshiptainment. This derives
Worshiptainment. Oh no. You see, in order to really sometimes get people to Christ, you gotta do some smoke. Just kidding. You don't necessarily need smoke, but that it sort of helps the flow of things, especially worship. Sometimes it depends on where people are at the end of the day. That's how I think about those things.
From the seeker-friendly movement, artists are creating a Broadway type of show to entertain. In other words,
How? Please give us a little bit more proof here. I mean, judging by the picture, this doesn't look like Hillsong. I could be wrong. Watch the video for yourselves, guys. Just type in Worship Wars. It would show a dove with the Star of David, blue with the people who are going to talk. If Uncle Worship Wars Part 2 might come before it, so just scroll down, you'll see Part 1 there. Again, just watch this for yourself, guys.
Smoke and Lights, Elvis impersonators, Michael Jackson Thriller reenacted. Many of them will misapply Paul's statement in 1 Corinthians 9:22, which states, "By all means I might save some and use it to justify."
Oh, I can see what they're going with, and I can see what some people might think I'm going with. Again, I want to say again, for you, if you don't want to listen to it, do not listen to it. But don't do false things or promote anti-Christian music. Lyric. It says to the work become I as work, if I'm correct, that I might gain the work. Aid all things to all men, that I might. Sorry about that, guys. It sort of just cut off a little bit, but yeah, I can see why people might defend that, saying that God can use anything. First of all, just to tell you guys, God can't use anything and everything to lead people to Him because some things are just too ungodly. But when it comes to music like Hillsong, yeah, He can use that. He can use that.
What they do. Brandon, as a pastor, then do you take a lot of this back to the church growth movement?
Well, Jan, I certainly do. And I think a lot of it started with that. The intent was to reach the younger crowd. So with that
I mean, yeah, that's what you do. You need to reach the generation to get them to God. So some things you might do that the old generation might seem to be weird, but here's the big thing. You have to explain why you're doing it in this way, like songs like Reckless Love and Do It Again. Because a lot of people from the older generation might hear one lyric and be like, oh my gosh, it's not Christian. Same thing with the new generation. This is it. What is this? Is it? No, guys, just calm down. Listen to the whole lyrics. Understand what they're saying. and also get their interviews. That's very important. But let's continue.
And they said, well, how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to do it through music, and we're going to play certain songs with certain lyrics. We're going to play it at a certain volume level, and we're going to do it at the expense of a lot of other people, particularly.
No, they're doing it to get a generation to God. Again, interviews are very important.
The older generation. So that's caused a lot of the culture wars that we're seeing in the churches.
True.
Now, as you know, as people walk into some of these worship places, they have to be given earplugs.
That's right.
The music's played so loud, and sometimes they're playing secular music. And
well, it depends. I don't know this. I don't know. But I have been to concerts where actually that doesn't actually happen. I haven't been to a church at all to say, hey, you need to wear earplugs. And like, am I hearing Eminem or something like that? Like, I never. So I guess, no offense, but does this only happen like in the north? Or like, I'm just saying, does this kind of thing happen in the north? Or. Because I
having Elvis impersonators or whatnot just to entertain people. So, yes.
First of all, why they're doing Elvis impersonators, depending on where they are. It also depends on where you are, because sometimes you might be street preaching in a gangster-like way to lead people, but not cursing or anything, and show them that this isn't a good lifestyle. Somebody who I know reads a lot. At the end of the day, sometimes you do have to use things that God can use for good. You just have to recognize and know how to use it, if it can be used by God. And this is the whole deal of this worship wars and culture wars. And the other thing is that things move on, but also things should stay the same. I am a Christian conservative libertarian, or you can say Christian conservative progressive. Moving on.
Out of the church growth movement, that is one of the target audiences of the church growth movement, and that's become a problem today.
Eric, does this go back to...
That is true. That is true. We should let the old generation come as well and give sort of a new way of showing their hymns. That's what we should do. That's what a lot of artists should do. So to get to the old generation, like, oh, I remember that, but it's a little bit different. Oh, that is what that song means. So they feel important again. We need to let the old generation be important again. Unless sadly they'll just die out feeling lonely and just alone. We should bring them in as well. And young generation, just listen, just understand what they're saying, and especially old generation, listen and understand what they're saying. Let's form a good balance, but also understand things are going to go in a different route because it's a different generation. Some things should stay the same, but some things are going to go away. And I think they're doing a little picture of Peter Drucker. It says, quote, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." It sounds familiar. I don't know where I heard that from. I think it might have been from a movie. But this person does have a little bit of a point. I mean, in order to predict a future, and I guess in this case, you have to create it. In some cases, I can see it. Like, the future will be all Sega games from now on. Well, you have to create a lot of Sega games for it to be the top best-selling games of that company. The best games in that company to be year of Sega. Like, if you're predicting there'll be a year of Sega, that means Sega would have to prepare a lot of games for it to be called the year of Sega. Like the year of Luigi and, well, the year of Sonic was supposed to be this year, but didn't go out that well. Man, we're only 9 minutes in.
Peter Drucker, is that who this goes back to?
I think this whole idea has taken quite a while to evolve. It is probably pretty hard to point at just one particular thing, but Peter Drucker certainly had a big influence because the whole teaching of the idea that you're going to build a big church or a bigger church, and this is going to be one of the main elements by changing the music in the church to bring in younger people. And we all want to see younger people come to church. We all want to see churches grow, but
I mean, you gotta do it the right way, and sometimes you have to give them bait or do the way how they do it, but do it in the way that's Christian to show that God loves them and God can use them in the right way. That's what you do. But I think my youth pastor, in when he was still like my youth pastor, I mean by that, like, I'm a little bit too old in a sense of a way in youth church in a sense of a way. But he's still youth pastor. Sometimes he brings us to eat or to, like, say, not Dunkin' Donuts, the other D&D. No, not D&D. I forgot their names, but it's like the sign with the orange like ball. I remember that. And that was pretty ministering. That was after, of course, we did church, and sometimes we go out to eat after church and stuff like that. And that really just helps to show that Christians can, have fun, but also still be Christians and put God first and put everything else second in a sense of a way, which I really liked. It showed balance. It's sort of communion of two generations, of one who didn't have that and one that has too much of it. So what you do is bring that in, but bring enough in. That's what you do. And I'm really not trying to do an hour here. So yeah, we'll continue on. This is part 1. Part 2 will come very soon. Yeah, God bless and have a great day.